when I think about this community, I think about people that really embrace technology as a way to drive business change and solve business problems. Maybe if you can use the team feature and raise your hand real quick. I'm just curious if you can identify with that. Are you somebody that's inspired to use technology to serve business challenges, to solve business challenges? Okay, I see one thumb. That's definitely me. In fact, when I was 17 years old, I cobbled together some money. I built my own computer. I bought a scanner, and I helped law firms digitize documents, which they didn't even know they had the problem with, right? And optical character recognition was just coming on the scene. So I've really had that in my DNA. I just love solving problems, and that's and it's good because it's good that we have that DNA, as part of our makeup, because the challenges that we're facing today are pretty steep. And if you look at what we have in terms of climate change, supply chain pressure, geopolitical uncertainty, it can get a little bit undaunting. I mean, the central banks putting a lot of pressure on us in terms of monetary policy, inflation. And I'll be honest with you, a couple of weeks ago, I got some news that was a little bit deflating, and I went into the weekend feeling is not as optimistic as I typically am. And I'm an optimistic guy, I'm glass half full all the way. Even living here in Germany, where optimism is in short supply, I tend to be able to find it. But I was a little bit down until I started to reflect, and I started to reflect around the last, 20, 30 years. And, I kind of came to this realization that while these are challenging times, they're not unprecedented. I was a young kid at the end of the Cold War. I remember when Iraq invaded Kuwait and oil spiked. We had 9/11 strategy, which wreaked havoc everywhere. We had the financial services meltdown, right? Like so I kind of reflected and I realized, hey, we've actually gone through all this stuff. And for the most part, when we've leaned in and we've used technology, we've found ways to not only survive, but thrive, and come out in a better way. So I just wanted to share that brief message with you in terms of how I've kind of rationalized the current state I'm in, and how I'm optimistic, because I think we have a lot of the tools at our disposal to create this awesome flashlight, right, that can guide our organizations out of these challenging times, and not just come out, but come out better. And let me talk a little bit about what's in that toolkit here. Now, I want to talk today in my 20 minutes here about our strategy, and where we're going with business applications. And it's hard to talk about our strategy without putting the context of the entire Microsoft Cloud. So if you think about business applications, which of course is Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform, it's just part of, kind of the piece of the puzzle here in terms of the overall Microsoft Cloud ecosystem. We've heard mentioned already about Teams. If you look at the Azure side, we have robust capabilities with data lakes and artificial intelligence. Security is top of mind right now. We still have ransomware attacks happening in places that, lots of places. I was in Norway just yesterday, actually, and was talking to a customer who Natura, they make chicken and a bunch of other products, and they were a victim of a ransomware attack. All their SAP systems went down. Everything that was in their own data centers hijacked. Everything that was in the Microsoft Cloud, their Dynamics installation, their Teams, their Office, completely protected. Right. So it's really important to see that we kind of bring the whole picture to our customers, and we truly have this no cliffs approach to solving problems, which is why Catalyst is so great, because we can get in a room and dream up some really cool stuff, and very rarely do we have to say, no, that's not possible. Most oftentimes it's like, hey, we can do that. Let's just write the business case to see if it makes sense. So that's how it kind of all exists. And I just would make a couple comments in terms of where we're innovating on the industry cloud. So We are taking the breadth of the Microsoft Cloud and building industry intellectual property for financial services, healthcare, manufacturing, nonprofit, and retail to help our customers accelerate their time to value. So that might be something that you take a look at. Microsoft Cloud for Manufacturing should be will not be GA for about another 8 months, but it's something that we would encourage you to have a look at. And then the last key one to call out there is Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability. This has got really robust capabilities to help record, report, and then take action, to help our customers achieve their employee and societal goals. So that's kind of the picture. Now, of course, just to kind of bring in the frame here, and I know today is all going to be about Dynamics 365. When we think about Dynamics 365, we have these core apps that we're bringing to market with supply chain, finance, marketing, sales, customer service. And then, of course, we have the Power Platform, which is, our low-code approach to innovation. So, whether it's creating a analytical dashboard or an app or a process or virtual agent, or a web page, we now have a low-code approach to really help empower all of our people in the organization to be part of the innovation cycle. Too often, it's just relegated to senior members of the IT staff, developers, and such, and that just doesn't scale to the amount that we need it to. And we'll talk about some numbers here in a second. But let me move forward, because when I'm having customer conversations here, it's recently the topic that comes up more often than not is, or a question I get is, hey Rob, how can Microsoft help me do more with less? I mean, we've got, to tell you a story. I know this is being recorded. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share all this, but in our office here in Munich, in Microsoft, our electric bill was $250,000 last year in October. Last October, $250,000. We're not even in winter time yet, right? This year's bill for the same period, any guesses? I know this isn't really an interactive forum, so I'm imagining you guys are sharing out guesses. 1.8 million, 900% increase in energy costs. So companies are absorbing those costs, right? And they're trying to figure out, how can we absorb those costs while continue to innovate, right? So that's what we want to talk about today, is how can we help all of our employees deliver more operational excellence, respond to customer expectations in a more effective way, and then potentially more importantly, build a culture of growth. We still want to continue to grow even in challenging times, and we want to do that by having a greater degree of agility, by bringing more digital capabilities to the organization. If we're more agile, we can react more quickly to things that we know are coming around the corner, right? I shared with you a bunch of challenges on the first slide. Well, guess what? Hate to break it to you, but 3 months, 6 months from now, there's going to be something else that we got to address, right? So we need to have a greater degree of agility to not only be able to react to things that we can't see yet, but also react more quickly to the things we can. When do we see opportunity? How can we go attack that? And that's really what we think about in terms of today's digital imperative. Now, as far as where we're going with this platform and Dynamics 365 in particular, and the Power Platform, I often get asked for hey Rob, what's your roadmap? And I would say, well, do you have 2 days? Because if you look at those 5 or 6 SaaS apps that we have for Dynamics 365, and then the 5 key areas of the Power Platform, each one of those has a deep roadmap that has innovation coming out every 6 months, consistent. I used to say consistent like a German train, and then I moved to Germany. So now I say consistent like a Swiss train. On time, every 6 months, new capabilities are coming into market. So what I like to do is in terms of roadmap or strategies, talking about these 4 pillars or 4 areas where we're going to drive investment, which is unify, automate, collaborate, and innovate. And all of these 4 key pillars kind of show up and show through our applications like supply chain, finance, customer experience, service, and of course, low code, which everything is underpinned. So let's take a look at each one of these. And we'll start with the Unify piece. And if you've been around the Dynamics ecosystem for a while, you might remember, hearing James Phillips, who was our previous engineering leader, talking about the digital feedback loop and how data is coming out of everything and it's voluminous and, and such. Well, that actually still rings true today. So we still have a data problem, and I've yet to sit down with a CEO or a chief data officer or a CIO and for them to say, hey, Rob, I got to tell you, we don't have any data silos. I have a full picture of how the business is running. I can go end-to-end processes without any kind of issues, right? That conversation I've yet to have, right? So we still have our organizations, our customers still have challenges with creating the whole picture, which kind of causes uninformed decisions. We miss signals that we might be able to proactively react to, and then of course creates limited visibility. And if we're able to unify, then we can take our AI capabilities and drive better insights into processes. And you can see a couple examples there across customer experience, service, supply chain, and finance of how this is starting to come to life. Having a full picture of your supply chain, Michael mentioned digital twins. Is a great example of how having that full data set lets us be more proactive. In fact, let's look at a customer example on that exact topic. So Michael and I, believe it or not, had not had a sync before the call, but it's working out to look like we have. So let's talk about Bosch, and everyone knows Bosch, right? Big company. They make everything from washing machines. I got one downstairs in my house, dishwasher, to tools, to parts that go inside automobiles that you never see. And working with them, it kind of came to this realization that, hey, machines can speak. Are we listening to them? So what we were able to do with this kind of Unify approach and Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform, with a little bit of Azure capabilities with the IoT Hub, we were able to create this kind of digital twin view of their assembly line, of their production line, which enabled us to understand when a part in a machine and on an asset in the supply chain process was about to fail. So once we know that, then we can proactively dispatch a field service technician or a subject matter expert to go repair that piece of equipment before time of failure. So that lets us do be more planful in terms of when we take downtime. The results were incredible, right? So what we're able to do is have a more effective, more productive asset productivity. So our return on assets are going up because our productivity is higher. But surprisingly, they were also able to take out costs, right? So and deliver better on customer expectations because their supply chain challenges were alleviated. But they also found out that they were more efficient in running the supply chain, so they had a reduction of energy consumption. So this was a great example of how Bosch is doing more with less with the Microsoft Cloud, using some of these concepts that we've been discussing. I'll move to the next pillar, I'll share my LinkedIn profile with you at the end. I know we have 20 minutes today, and I got a lot of messages I want to deliver. Would welcome a conversation with you at some point, and maybe LinkedIn would be a good place to start that. But the next pillar is automate. And when I think about automation, in terms of what we're bringing to the market, it really exists into two categories, right? I would say that the apps that we're building, like Viva Sales is a good example, which I brought with me a quick demo to share with you. And then the other example would be just processes in general, right? Which we see Power Automate as a great tool to help drive those automations. And when we can do automation, there's a ton of, talking about doing less with more. I'll share with you a couple customer stories here in a second, but automation gives time back to people to do more higher value activities, and it reduces errors. And error reduction can be a huge impact on the bottom line. And I'll talk about a couple stories in a second, but before, I do want to play a quick video here to introduce Viva Sales, which is one of our newest products in the portfolio.
Microsoft Viva Sales helps you streamline your workflow by allowing you to interact with your CRM data in Microsoft Teams and Outlook. From Outlook, you can get actionable insights about your customers and edit customer information, which is synchronized to your CRM. Key details of the customer opportunity are made visible directly in Outlook, including a history of all the interactions that are automatically logged as they happen, and a list of colleagues that work with the same customer. In Teams chat, coworkers can discuss a customer opportunity simply by sharing live customer information, which is always in sync with the CRM. The customer data can even be edited directly from the chat, enabling seamless collaboration without losing context of the customer. During Teams meetings, Viva Sales displays relevant customer information, including easy access to notes that were captured before the meeting. Using conversation intelligence, it also automatically generates a summary of the conversation with a list of actions mentioned on the call, streamlining the follow-up process and preparing you for the next customer interaction. Viva Sales is a seller experience application that uses Microsoft 365 and Teams to automatically capture data in your CRM, giving you more time to focus on selling.
So that's a dream come true for a seller. And I was a seller 5 years for 5 years here at Microsoft before I moved into some different leadership type of roles in worldwide sales excellence positions. And I love selling because, as you heard earlier, I love solving big problems with my customers, right? So it was one of my favorite things I did. But the thing that I didn't like, and I could use the H word there, but I tell my kids they can't use the H word, so I'm trying not to use the H word. I dislike heavily doing some of those data entry tasks, right? Capturing all the notes, driving some of the follow-ups, and this streamlines those types of activities, which gives me time back as a seller and lets me go spend more time with our customers. So we're very excited about the Viva Sales product and opportunity we have in front of us, and a great example of automation. Here's a couple other customer examples that we've seen get a lot of business value out of our automation capabilities. And you can see some of the time savings there in Brown and Foreman and Komatsu, but I think that one of the maybe the most exciting one here is the T-Mobile story, where we saw data, the reduction of data entry errors from 0% to from 7 to 0, and that's a huge business impact because they're in the cell phone business. So a data error means sending an iPhone 14 to somebody that didn't buy it. Okay, great. How do we recapture that inventory? If we don't, that's shrinkage. That's $1,500. If we do recover it, great, we recovered it, but think about the cost that we just wasted in shipping and also the CO2 footprint we emitted. So a huge opportunity here to drive business value through automation to reducing the errors. So we've got a couple more, and then we'll hand it over to the next speaker here. The second one would be collaborate, right? And Michael talked a lot about the hybrid work, and we do see hybrid work is here to stay, right? So employees will choose when they want to go into the office. For me, I working at home, I'm more productive, right? But I love being in the office because I'm just a people person, right? Like I like shaking hands, I like hugging people, I like having those coffee chats, right? So I get energy out. So for me, the hybrid approach is perfect. A couple days in the office, get that energy, get that recharge, have those sparks of creativity. A few days at home, go through some, productivity, be hyper productive. But what that means from a business is, the question is, how do we make sure collaboration is happening with our key people across these different processes? So, for the collaboration pillar, what we will continue to drive is best-in-class collaboration in the flow of work, right? So our point of view here is that collaboration shouldn't be something you have to invoke or go do separate from how you're working through a process. So whether you're in the business application or you're in Microsoft Teams, for example, or Outlook, you should have access to the business data of the business process and participate in how you would see fit. And I'll give you, just to show you an example of how this is starting to manifest, right? So here's you're in Microsoft Teams, and let me see if I can get to play. Is this going to play for me? This should be playing a little loop video. It's not. So what we're doing.
It is playing now. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay. Great. I can't see it, but I'm glad it's playing for you. So what we have here inside Teams is the ability to invoke and bring in business application data as you're collaborating with another person or another group. So quickly at mentioning any type of record that you have in the business application can bring a data, some of that business data right into the context of the conversation and enable you right from there, right, to actually update the business data, take decisions, or maybe ask a few more questions to get clarity. So we're also making sure that our business applications are multiplayer, kind of like Outlook, or not Outlook, like PowerPoint would be today, right? So you have PowerPoint, you're collaborating in a document. I see my friend Michael in that document. I can send him a quick note, right? Just how we're collaborating on PowerPoint. Well, we want to be able to do the same thing with Dynamics 365. So who else is looking at this particular record? And then again, not forcing you to leave this experience to have a collaborative exercise, but having the collaboration within the experience you're in. So these are ways that we are breaking down the barriers, making sure collaboration can exist across the different teams, regardless of whether you're in the office or you're remote. Okay, so this is really a key part of the story. And I would just close with innovate, right? And I think what we see, we continue to see, and there's more pressure on it, is a lack of skills, right? Lack of ability to actually build innovation. In fact, if I just go to the next slide real quick, I want to show you some numbers. If we look 5 years ahead, we estimate 750 million apps will be created. 750 million. And gang, we are nowhere close to having the amount of developers needed to deliver the innovation that our businesses are demanding. Nowhere close. So we've got to do a better job. And that's really where Power Platform comes into play. And embracing, which enables our customers to embrace this concept of having of citizen development. So our philosophy here is to kind of democratize innovation capability, app creation, dashboard creation, process creation, democratize that so the business user, the business analyst that's closest to the business, can actually partake in the innovation. Now we're completely aware that all solutions aren't going to be able to be done in a low-code way, which is why we have a tight integration with the rest of our development capabilities, like GitHub, like all the great stuff in Azure, for example. So we can support this whole paradigm of low-code to pro-code, again, without having any cliffs. And what this enables us to do is become more agile. Right? We deliver more innovation. When I talk to customers about this platform, I often ask, "Hey, what are the last 5 things that IT said they didn't have the capability to deploy that the business requested? What are they?" And if there are things there, right? There are requests. We know those are great opportunities for us to say, well, let's look at the Power Platform and see how we can quickly enable these. Here's some really interesting, customer stories. I would maybe just talk about Zurich real quick, because the interesting thing about Zurich is their financial services. So typically when we think about low code and democratizing technology, the governance and compliance people kind of perk up. Well, wait a second, how are we going to manage data? What does that look like? And Zurich, we've worked with them closely to not only stand up a center of excellence and a low-code strategy, but also have the right governance that enables them to deliver this rapid innovation and still be compliant, which is really important to regulators, and they're in a regulated industry. So it is about outcome these days. It is about doing more with less. It is about taking out costs while still maintaining and delivering innovation to the business. And as you leave today's meeting and you go back into your conversations, back in the home office, you maybe just look at some of these, examples of where you might be able to take out costs for your organization and do more with less. There's some really, excellent examples here in terms, one, 74% reduction in app development costs, right? That's what we've calculated in terms of using the low code strategy to augment your pro code strategy in terms of delivering innovation. We talked about reducing errors. What would that mean in terms of the business impact? Bots are a really interesting one. Here in Germany, we have Adidas as a customer. They took out 2.2 million euro in cost by deploying a bot that was designed to service their retail employees. Adidas has a lot of stores, right? It was costly for them to support that. So, anyways, I hope this was a good use of time, an inspiring 20 minutes. There's tons of opportunities, I think, for us to work together to address some of the challenges that we have, come out the other side in a more healthy way, in a way that we're thriving while we're delivering bottom line impact to the business. So I'd leave you with those three things, right? Operational excellence, exceptional customer experiences, building a culture of growth agility, all able to do with Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform through our strategy of unify, automate, collaborate, and innovate. So I think that's it for me. And if I'm looking at the clock, I might have gone a little bit over. So I apologies for that if I did, but really nice to be here with you today. And I'll go ahead and put my LinkedIn profile in the chat there, and in hopes that we can connect in that forum.